Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Kevin, and today is pretty uneventful. So I'm glad I got a comment asking me what kind of gear I use when I'm playing music, recording music, that kind of stuff. And I was gonna save this vlog for later to do kind of a comprehensive overview of everything that I use. But there's a bunch of stuff at the practice space that my band practices at, and so I thought I would just show what I've got here at home in my office that I record with right here. So first of all, got this beauty. This is a Gibson Classic. Pretty dirty. I beat the hell out of this guitar. There's duct tape right over here. There's like chips up here on the headstock. There's 10 to 15-year-old fake blood that has dried and caked inside of the pickups. My knobs, everything's on 10. I've used this guitar in the last like three or four records, I think. The guitar I had before this was a black Gibson, another Gibson Les Paul, but it was a studio, and man, I love that guitar. I got it in like 1987 or 88. I was a teenager, worked really hard at this pizza place to get the money for it, and then about 2001-ish, maybe 2000, after a show, the band I was in at the time called Pitch Black, after a show, it got stolen. That was a very, very sad day. Before that, like right when I started, I had this acoustic guitar. My parents were really adamant about me getting an acoustic guitar to learn to play. And I took lessons for like 3 months and was like, I know enough to play punk rock. And then I kind of quit and sold that guitar and got my very first electric guitar, which was pretty cheap. I loved it at the time. It was this crazy aqua greenish, iridescent, greenish to blue color. It was really garish looking kind of, but it was a Washburn Force 7. I have since not really seen many of them. I kind of wish I still had that, just to have it kicking around, you know. Started my first band with that guitar. But so this is my main guitar. This has been all over North America with me, and yeah, it's pretty great. All right, everybody, put your 3D glasses on. This is the bass that I use at home to record. Never played any shows with this or anything. I used to have a Fender P bass at one point. I had a Fender Jazzmaster at another point. When I was younger and dumber, I just sold those because when I would play bass in bands, it always felt temporary. Like I was just like, yeah, I can play bass. So, you know, I'd like buy a bass and then I would sell it when I was not playing bass in that band because fancy myself a guitar player. God, I really wish I kept those guitars. So this one is not that great of a bass. This is an Ibanez Blazer bass series. I've actually never even looked to see what kind it was. This one was given to me by a friend who used to be in this kind of goth band and gave up music entirely to be a comic book writer. But for recording at home and like doing the kind of stuff I do here, I think it sounds alright. It has lost its tone and volume knobs, but it doesn't matter. Everything on 10. Okay, here is another guitar I have here that I rarely play. I got this at kind of a second-hand music shop for about 25 bucks a bunch of years ago, and I do not know what kind of guitar this is at all. I have looked online and tried to find something like this, and I can maybe pinpoint it to an era. Maybe it's like late 60s or 70s or early 70s maybe, but I have no idea. I think what it probably is, it's probably a department store guitar, like back when Sears used to sell like Silvertone guitars and amps and stuff like that. This is probably like, I don't know, Montgomery Ward's or, you know, some other kind of defunct department store. This thing sounds so crunchy and so mean that I wish I could play it more. It will only stay in tune for a very short amount of time. Before I'm done playing the first verse of a song, this thing's already way out of tune, like wildly out of tune. So I just use this at home for doing like overdubs, and sometimes if a track is sounding a little too produced, a little too clean, I might do something under that track to muddy it up a little bit with this guitar, but I still love this guitar. $25 crappy guitar. I haven't played it for a while. There's some lint. So when I'm recording music at home, I just use GarageBand because I've got a Mac. And in order to record into my computer, I use this guy right here. So this is a UX1 by Line 6. Pretty simple. You've got your mic input, your instrument input, your headphones. It all just connects just with one of these guys and USB. When you get something like this, you can just go to the Line 6 website and download a bunch of amplifier emulators. I tend to stick with like the amps that replicate like Marshall sounds or Fender sounds the most. Ampeg too, a little bit. Alright, now recording vocals, I use this Shure SM58, pretty kind of standard, regular old mic. And then I have made this pop guard out of a wire hanger and pantyhose. And I just attach this and wrap it around my mic stand. So it looks something like this when I'm recording. A little bit about recording drums. I am a shitty drummer, and I do not have room to record drums in my office. I do not have a drum set. So when I'm recording these demos at home, I have bought a bunch of loops and just single hits of cymbals and bass drums, stuff like that. Then what I do is I take those loops and generally, and they are from real drummers, so a lot of people have been like, oh man, your drummer's tight, or you're super tight drummer, because it doesn't sound digital or anything. So anyway, so what I do is I'll take these loops and I try not to make them stock. I might take a loop, take it apart a little bit, put it back together so it's a different beat, or sometimes I'll just take those individual hits and try to make something out of that. So that's how I'm making the beats, the drum beats. So yeah, I don't have the best stuff, don't really care. It's punk rock, so I'm using what I've got at my disposal. That's all the stuff I've got here at home in a nutshell. I've probably, most likely, been playing some music that I recorded here in my office that's underlying this video, background music, and maybe I'll let some of that play out for, I don't know, 10-15 seconds. I'll show a picture of me when I was younger or something, and so you can kind of hear how it comes together. Still working on my mixing chops and all that kind of stuff, but, whatever. Punk rock. Do it. Now. Alright, see you guys tomorrow.